Hey, everybody. We are live a few minutes early because I'm testing this out, want to make sure that we're good to go and that we're going to have a great live session today. This is something I've never done live using this particular software before. So keep your fingers crossed and we will hope that everything goes well when it comes time for our guest to come in. It's a really great guest today and I am excited. I met him a few months ago when he was on my podcast, Don't Wait for Pigs to Fly. And we've gotten to be colleagues and friends now. And I just think he is the most incredible business person there is. So I am going to stop for a few minutes now and wait for him to come in, but I was just testing this to see whether it was working or not. So take care, y'all, and we'll talk again in a couple of minutes. Hello there. See, this is what. Can you hear me, Donnie? I can't. There we
There we
go.
are. There we are. You had to add me in the show. There we go.
I've never done this with two people
Oh,
before,
awesome. Yeah, I
so
do this all the time.
you're a test subject.
I love being a test subject. That's so awesome.
I tell you, I had come on a couple minutes early just to make sure that we were going to be able to rock and roll. So we are actually live. If
Woohoo!
you're ready to go,
Let's do this.
all right. Hey, everybody, and welcome. This is exciting for me because it's something that's an extension of my podcasts, and I really want to start doing more of these in the upcoming year. So I am honored that my first guest is Donnie Boivin, and he is the success champion. Donnie is changing the game of business development. At the age of 22, right out of the Marine Corps, he struggled with what to do next. He landed his first straight commission sales job and has spent over 2 decades learning what it takes to be successful in sales, business, and life. At the age of 40, he discovered he'd been living other people's dreams and not chasing his own. Launching his own business, he found himself and grew an international business and became one of the world's top podcasters, and he started changing lives. He knows how to help you change your mindset and up your game. His story about becoming a success champion in his own life has inspired thousands to get out of their own way and go for it. Get ready to have your fire lit, everybody, and start chasing your own dreams.
Nice.
That is absolutely a fantastic bio, and it makes me
Oh,
want to
thank you.
rewrite mine.
Well, I got to tell you, the most awesome thing about this is the first time I've seen my name in pink. So I'm I'm
Hey,
loving this.
it's flying pigs. You gotta
I
have
love it. I
pigs.
love it. Well, and something else, because love StreamYard. It's my favorite live program. If you go and you can actually put your logo up on the screen and everything, so you can totally brand this thing out. So if you guys are doing lives, man, by all means, use StreamYard. It's my favorite thing. There's no affiliate programs here or anything. It's just a really, really cool program. Well, thank you for having me on, dear. Thank you for putting my name in pink. I'm so stoked to hang out with you, your people, and just have some fun. Just have
I
some
tell
fun.
you, that's what it's all about. It's over the last couple of weeks that theme has just been coming out more and more and more and more. If you're not having fun, then you're really not successful.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not the guy that says take your passion and turn it into your business because I don't want your passion become something you hate doing. I'm more the person of get into doing something that you love doing, and maybe it will become your passion later on. Because for like me, being a business owner took me 40 years to get there. And as I said in the bio, I spent that entire journey chasing somebody else's dream, making other people extremely wealthy. And it wasn't until a happenstance conversation, I'm like, all right, screw this. It's on me. Let's get after it and do this thing. And along that ride, the creation or the building of the business has become my passion, and the tinkering and the figuring things out and the scaling up and the bringing on the team members and all of that stuff has been what I've grown to really love to do. But I can tell you, when I started this business, that was not fun, right? It wasn't something I really wanted to do. It felt like work. I mean, granted, it's still work. I still put in a ton of hours, but the idea that the building, the grind, the doing all the stuff was going to be something that I actually enjoyed was so far removed from my mind because I didn't think that was something you did, you know.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's really interesting because I have some new staff members, some team
Mm,
members that I've been working with over the last couple of months. And we're in the process of doing all sorts of rebranding for my business. And we had a staff meeting yesterday that was a couple of hours long. And we were talking about the kinds of things that we like to do and the kinds of things that our clients like to do. And, I was talking about how I want to actually just get in there and help my clients figure out how to do things, how to actually do the tune-ups and the implementations and get in there and mix the stew with them,
right.
and my new staff member was saying, "You really like doing that?" And I said, "Oh God, yes. You guys can run the business. Let me just do that.
Right.
And but I think often when people get started in businesses for themselves, number one, they think because they're not working for someone else any longer that it's going to be easy.
I agree with that.
They don't realize that there's so much work involved in it. They just want to play.
Yep.
And they I see all these, and it's women usually in these groups that I belong to that put up, "I want to start my own business. Somebody tell me what to do." And I just, oh my God, that just gets me because, if you don't, it's okay to not know what you want to do, but to just have somebody else tell you, oh, you need to do this. What do you think about that?
Well, for me, I am a bull in a china shop, so I'm more of let's go get punched in the face by life by screwing crap up. And I'm going to try not to cuss. I don't know if you like cussing or not, but I'm going to do my absolute best. But for those, I'm a former Marine, so profanity will slip out.
Oh, is
Um,
that why my husband talks like that all the time?
yes, yeah, exactly right. But I think people have this idea of being a business owner, and the entrepreneur is kind of this new buzzword thing out there, and I tell everybody being an entrepreneur is like the new multi-level marketing thing. Everybody thinks they can start a business and be a millionaire overnight type deal. And the reason people fail in multi-level marketing, the reason people fail in business, the reason people fail in life is they're not willing to do the things that need to be done to get them where they want to go. And when I started my business, my biggest hurdle for me was I had no idea how to be a business owner. I had no idea what needed to be done to become a business owner. And as I started my business, I mean, I walked away from a very well-paying, career. I was a partner in a company, was getting ready to buy out that company in a seven-figure deal contract that I was going after. And I walked away from that all to start my business. And I was cocky enough, and I think I believed, like a lot of people who want to get into business ownership, believed, I really thought that I was going to have instant success. I really thought, that the world was going to kind of just show up and things were going to be awesome and amazing, and the money was just going to start coming in and flowing in. And you know it took me about 6 months of running my business to realize that I was self-sabotaging, and I was doing all the things that I did as an employee, but now I was doing it while I was running my business. And
Absolutely.
that mental shift was very difficult to finally flip the script to start thinking about what I do and how to change that. I mean, in one of my mastermind groups, we talked about this yesterday. I said, if you spent your career, making money for yourself, it's very hard. Because a lot of people spend a lot of time staying in bad jobs. Convincing themselves that the money that the money they made compensated for their misery. When you've spent your career in something you didn't enjoy, but you thought I couldn't move because of all the money I was making, it can make it very hard to accept money from something that you're deeply, passionate about, because it's that mental change to be able to flip the script mentally to make that happen. And you know, as an employee, it's your job from like a sales perspective. It was my job to go get money, right? No problem. I sold multi-million dollar deals and everything else. But when I became a business owner, it was now I'm selling my stuff, right? And so it came very hard to change to this business owner mindset, because I hadn't had enough experience at the point to understand that I needed to flip that script. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have the question that goes through my mind all the time is that, yeah, it took me a long time to realize that I wasn't just getting up every day and going to a job,
Mm,
that I was the owner and these responsibilities were mine. I had to take accountability for them. I had to be responsible for them. And that puts an entirely different point of view on everything that you do. How does one switch? How do you
mm.
get that switch?
Um, you know, Something that I did for me, and I would assume this works for everybody else, but what worked for me was one simple question: is the activity I'm doing right now what a business owner should be doing? And it was interesting by starting to analyze everything that I was doing and then really questioning, if I was to look at a president of one of my past companies, I worked for some, very large companies once upon a time, and I started looking at the things I was doing, and I'm going, okay, but so and so who is a CEO of an $80 million company, be doing what I'm doing right now? And a lot of times the answer was no. And it was very, very telling. And then I had this kind of secondary thought when I was starting out. I'm like, but I can't afford to pay somebody else to do all this crap. What the hell do I do? And so I had this conundrum. So I took out a pen, a paper, and I started writing down every freaking task that I did, every task I did in my business, and then I put a word next to it. Is this CEO material, or is this something that somebody else would do? And I just wrote that next to every task, and it was amazing how many things that I was doing in my business, because there's a lot in running a business. But it was amazing to go through that activity and realize that there was a lot of things that I was doing that I shouldn't be doing, but they still needed to get done for my business to function, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, how do I fix this? How do I find other people that can help me do this? And it's when I realized that my personal brand is to help people become the champions of their success, right? That's my message. That's what I do, and help people push towards that. What I was realizing is, as I've created my tribe, if you will, and my fans, that there was several people who wanted coaching from me, who wanted help, but they maybe were in the same spot that I was in. They could not at the time afford to pay for my coaching and help, but they had skill sets that I needed. Maybe they were a graphic designer, maybe they were a video company, maybe they were a bookkeeper, maybe they were, something that I needed to have done in the business. So I literally started finding these people that had these talents and were experts in their field. And early on, I started trading everything. If I needed somebody to make social media graphics, cool, let's do a coaching setup. Let's do something that we can start working together. And this was helping me mentally change my mindset to that of a business owner, because now I was pushing myself into managing a team and getting to what I should be doing. Because I think one of the greatest things a business owner must do is literally become the face of the company. And for anybody who's trying to become a speaker and everything like that, I always ask them, and speakers and coaches are not the clients I work with. I like working with the small business owners that actually have a tangible product and service, right? So, but people that are trying to get on stages, I always ask them, what's Tony Robbins' job? What does he actually do? And people were like, he's the CEO, he's the business owner, right? He's doing the blah. No, that's not his job. Tony Robbins' job is to be the damn face of the company. His job is to be a PR machine that's out there on a regular basis. And that doesn't mean he's not into the day-to-day stuff of the business, but he's got droves of people underneath him that are doing all the stuff. Same thing with Gary Vee. People don't realize this, but Gary Vee's got an $800 million company behind him, running a huge ad agency. Gary's job is to go create awareness and attention for his brand and his name. And through the osmosis of that, he's growing all of his his company, and continues to go big and crazy with it. And it's this idea of what is that story you're putting out in the marketplace. So I realized for early on, for my business to actually scale and where it needed to go, I had to start putting myself out there more, putting out more content, and start creating this world that people wanted to be a part of. Once people understood that I had this huge, massive vision to get people all over the world to be the champions of their success, people started buying into that idea. And as they bought into that particular idea, I started creating my champions, as I call them. And they came along for the ride, and I got to pick up a lot of their skill sets. And then I realized that I had to evolve to a better version of myself to be able to make this a successful endeavor. So for most people to do this, do that exercise. Write down every task you do. Ask yourself, is this a task the CEO should be doing or somebody else? And if it's a task somebody else needs to be doing, then get creative and find people that will partner up. I have 7 people on my team now. They're all 1099s. that get paid monthly for their services. So I don't have any W-2 employees because I don't think you need them in this day and age. Eventually I will. Don't get me wrong. When the business gets a lot bigger, I will. But, as it continues to grow, and I'm doing a multi six-figure business now, as the business continues to grow, people will constantly step into my life, my business, and come along for the ride as I build this out. And to my job is to constantly get the influx of business coming in, brand awareness going, so I can continue to upgrade the badasses that work with me and turn this thing into the empire that we're trying to create.
When you were trying to, in the very beginning of all of this, and you're just trying to spin out of the employee to business owner, and you've brought on your first couple of people working with you, did you ever feel guilty about just giving them the work to do while you're out there being the
Well,
face?
I would say I screwed it up a lot early in the beginning, and I never felt guilty. What I did was dump and run, and what I mean by that is I went through several virtual assistants as starting out, because in my mind, what I originally thought, and I went and this is an employee mindset thing. I thought, okay, I now give you this task. That's your thing. Go. Because that's what you do as an employee. You're a manager or something in a business. You assign somebody's a job, a task or something, and say, okay, go figure that out. And it's their job no matter what to figure it out. But when you're running a business, people can't read your mind. And so there's no job descriptions. There's no anything. So I was like with my podcast, a young lady that I hired, and she had her whole team. I'm like, okay, I'm going to show up and record. Everything else is yours. And God love her for trying to do everything that she did. But I so set her up for failure because I literally picked up this whole thing and dumped it in her lap. And then I went on to other things. And so the work being done was all over the place. And she was trying to create the systems and the processes, and she was trying to develop all this stuff. That's my job. That's the CEO's job, to create the processes and systems. What I did to her was literally like most people do to salespeople when they get into companies. They're like, okay, you're now a sales guy. Cool, go sell. Right? Which is a surefire way to have a sales guy lose.
Yeah.
And if we do that with the people we outsource, it's like we're trying to offload our crap. Right? Now that's your thing. And that's an immediate way to set some people up for failure. So that relationship with the gal who helped me originally the podcast ended mutually. We both agreed it wasn't a good fit for each other. 100% my fault, right, on all of this. But then I realized, holy crap, I totally set her up for failure. How do I fix it and make it better? I literally, for the next person I hired to do it, I went and created videos for every step of the podcast, the things I did, and I walked it through it. And so when they came on, I said, here's every step of the process. Here's my expectations. We built, a database of who's coming up on the shows, what's going on, what's going to happen. So, and I'm like, please, if any of this portion doesn't make sense or I need to explain a little bit further, let me know. Man, that second person that came on is still with me because I set them up for so much success to be able to do all this stuff that it was like they'd been working with me for 10 years and they had just started out. It was so fun. And what that taught me is, I think that first stage of scaling up in your business, of bringing on people, is because we're so used to being that employee mindset of just giving it to somebody else. Okay, that's now your task. That's the employee thinking. A business owner sets their people up for success and then takes complete ownership on the outcome of that relationship.
I
Right?
love that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and it's like I'm thinking, all right, what do I need to do? And I found a piece of software a while ago that I use for that kind of thing all the time. I love it. Have you ever heard of Loom?
Yep. I tried Loom, wasn't that big of a fan of it, but it does work for this exact process.
Well, what do you use? Tell us
Zoom.
what
Zoom for everything, and
you
because I
for
can,
everything.
yeah, and the only difference is I can screen share, and then I'm still in the picture. So I really I love looking at myself. No, I'm kidding. Uh, but from the people that I've done it, one of the things they really enjoy is it feels like that they're talking directly with me as we're
Yeah.
going through the step by step. But
Mhm.
really, any tool that will allow you to teach your stuff,
Yeah.
so it's not a dump and run,
Yeah.
and there's a whole bunch of various levels of this. Hiring somebody to take over your marketing, cool, not a big risk. Hiring somebody to take over, make your automations, like my number two in my company, Kevin Snow. I mean, that dude handles all my sales automation, and it's phenomenal, right? That's not necessarily a big risk, other than they got to have a lot of access to your stuff.
Mhm.
When you get to the point, and I think the biggest shift for most people starting out in their business is when you stop managing your own books and you stop managing your own accounting, because that's the biggest shift to go from an employee to a business owner mindset. Because if you're doing your own finances in your business, I guarantee one simple fact: your business finances suck as bad as your personal finances, because you're taking all the bad habits that you have in your personal finances and you're running the business the same way. I had a young gal that I've been coaching for a while, but when we first started coaching, she runs a $400,000 business and doesn't even pay herself $1,000 a month,
Oh man. Mm.
right? And I was talking to her, and I won't use her name, but I was talking to her and I said, okay, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I've got so many things that I'm doing and everything else. I said, okay, stop. First thing we're going to do is go find you a bookkeeper and accountant. And so we found her a bookkeeper and accountant. The gal's now paying herself a salary of over $10,000 a month that was just in her business,
Yeah.
right? That she didn't know was there, because she was, you make a little bit of money, you buy crap, right? You make a little money, you buy crap. Make a little money, you
Mhm.
buy crap, which is employee mindset.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
business owner knows that if I set myself a very flat, monthly income, then I know what the expectations are. But just like people don't like talking to financial advisors, accountants, and everything else, the idea of bringing somebody into your business to look at your books,
Scary.
it is very scary,
Yeah.
because you just literally are going to have to stand naked in front of somebody else and be held accountable for your inability to do that. And I think when people get to that level, their business is going to start leveling up,
Yeah.
because now you've got this huge accountability plus in your business, that you're now paying somebody else to manage your books, and they get to see all the numbers, right? So they'll look at you and say, hey, this month is $100 for bookkeeping services, $300, whatever it is. You don't have it. You better go figure it out. And now
Yeah.
you've got to go out and get more business. So I think that once a business gets to that stage and they finally step into that, I think the next step is just completely exploding and leveling up their business, because they've pushed to the brink of their comfort zone and started thinking bigger than just themselves.
And isn't that one of the biggest issues that small business owners have, is that they don't want to step out of their comfort zone?
Yeah, I would say so, but the comfort zone's an overused term. I think people just don't want to step out of what they know.
Okay.
Right. So comfort zone's a real thing. I don't want to knock and say it's not, but we only know what we've experienced. We only know what we do. So what people have a tendency to do is stay in the normal and always do what they've always done. The biggest transition that somebody has to do is they mentally have to shift and become a business owner. Jim Rohn, who I think is one of the greatest motivational speakers of all time. I mean, if people don't know, he's the guy who actually taught Tony Robbins everything he knows. And you guys can go find the history behind them themselves. It's a good story. But Jim Rohn was standing in front of an audience, and I listened to this on an audio tape. But he looked at the audience and said, "Well, I'll ask you, Nancy, because it's just fun that way. If I were to hand you $10 million right now, what's the first thing you have to do?" if I hand you $10 million?
I'd go put it in the bank.
Right? A lot of people are like, you put it in a bank, you'll get a financial advisor, you get an attorney, you get taxes, right? That's all beautiful. And that's all true. But the first thing you have to do is mentally become a millionaire. Because here's why. If you don't shift that mindset, and this is why so many lottery winners, lose everything they have, is if you don't shift that mindset to that of a millionaire, you're going to take all your bad habits right into that money. So if you're an alcoholic before you're handed $10 million, you're still going to be an alcoholic. You're just going to drink more expensive shit,
You're right.
right? So
Absolutely.
it's the same thing with a business owner is if you run a business how you've always run your life, you're going to lose everything you have because you haven't mentally shifted to that of a business owner, right?
Yeah.
You're
Makes a lot of sense.
Yep, you're running a job and not a business. And oftentimes, when I get working with people and put them in my masterminds and all this, what I find is they've created a very successful job for themselves. And they actually haven't run a business and they haven't figured out the scale. And the surefire way to help somebody understand how to scale a business or not is one simple question. Can you scale you? And the answer is no, we can't individually scale ourselves. We can mentally go bigger, but I've got only 24 hours in the day. I can
Right.
only do so much. I can't duplicate me. So I've got to find other people who have the talents and skills to do the skill sets that I suck at, because an employee focuses on their weaknesses and tries to get them better. An
Mhm.
entrepreneur, a business owner focuses on their strengths and hires other people to do their weaknesses,
Yeah.
right? And makes that shift. And once I get a business owner to understand that if they're going to scale and get to that freedom they started out to try and get, right, that business financial freedom that they were aiming for, then we've got to get you to a spot that your business will function without you. And if most people, the way to understand that they've created a job for themselves is walk away from your business from 3 months.
And what happens?
Is your
Yeah.
business still there if you're not there for the next 3 months?
Yeah. Well, and this is a very, very interesting twist to the conversation because it fits in beautifully with how I'm rebranding myself. And
Mm,
and we hadn't really talked about that all that much. So I'm not sure how much you know, but I am moving my focus from the startups, the little bitty
mhm,
teeny tiny, I don't have any money. I can't afford to do anything. I got to do it all, to women who've been in business for a while, but they're tired of doing it all themselves.
mm. I
And
put
on top of that, they all have some form of chronic illness. So when you talk about being able to scale yourself and you've only got the 24 hours, that becomes really, really, really important to someone who's got, fibromyalgia or Crohn's disease, or finds 3 days out of the week they can't even get out of bed, let
right.
alone, um, get out there and be the business owner they want to be. So what you're talking about makes so much sense. How do you suggest people with those issues deal with things?
Well, two things. One, I love the evolution of your business, and
Thank you.
that's how you know somebody's starting or it's been in the game one long enough to understand that they've got to think bigger. Because I think most people, when they start their business, they have this hero complex of they want to save the world. And what I think a lot of people try and do is they wish somebody would have reached out and helped them when they were in the shitty motion of their life, right? They wish somebody would have kind of picked them up and said, here's how you get to success. That never works. Okay. It's like a boyfriend or girlfriend trying to change the boyfriend girlfriend, right?
Mhm.
It never works because the only way somebody finds growth is through their own actions, right? And if
Mhm.
somebody doesn't take the actions or they never have taken the actions, they don't know what it takes to evolve themselves. They're not going to take the actions from somebody else. So I love the fact that you're changing and growing your marketplace because it shows that you've dealt with the shit long enough to know that a lot of people who are starting out their business haven't invested enough time in themselves to
Mhm.
scale up and get after it.
Yeah.
You really need people that have been punched in the face by trying and doing this and have finally gotten to, like you said, that frustration point of, okay, this is not working. I found success, but I'm now working harder now as a business owner than I was as an employee. We've
Mhm.
got to fix this, right?
Yeah.
That's a great place. So I love the fact you've gotten there.
Yeah.
How do people do it that have, chronic illnesses and issues and everything else? I think because some of that stuff you never plan. You can't plan for. You don't know when flare-ups are going to happen
Yeah.
and everything else. I think then the answer truly is automations. I think it's as much online as you can possibly do. And people ask me like about my business, how do I have an international business living in Fort Worth, Texas? And the answer is Zoom, right? And my clients, I coach, I run masterminds, I do everything through Zoom,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful because I can bring all these people together. I love service-based selling. I think it's the easiest sell in the world to do service-based. It's easier than selling a product,
Yeah.
and if people will wrap their head around that, it makes it easier. So if you have an illness, look for a service-based thing. And services. I mean, there's a lot of them. It can be accountant, it can be marketing, it can be online, it can be consulting, it can be coaching, it can be speaking. There's a ton of things that are service based.
Yeah.
An attorney, there's all kinds of things that they can do. And if you find a service based business, odds are you can run 90% of that online. And the reason I encourage people to do the online thing from that, especially from a chronic illness standpoint, is you don't have to be 24/7. You don't have to have the storefront where you've got to be there every day and open it and close it. When you have a service based business, you can literally set it to your abilities. And you can let people know, hey, I only work 3 days a week. Or, I only work within these hours. And you can be very honest with your people and say, hey, I have this, whatever it is. So there may be some days where I'm Johnny on the spot, killing it and crushing it, doing everything you need. But there may be some days that I just can't do it. I will get everything done that we've agreed to. Right. And I think what you'll
Mhm.
find is when people get to that state of mind where they're going to use it as a superhuman ability versus a disability, then they can scale and grow their
Yeah.
business.
And I also think what we've been talking about all along here is the ability to have other people on your team.
Yes.
You know, it's so much with the people that I'm working with now. I know I feel comfortable enough with them knowing their parts of the business, and they're my partners whether they really are or
Yep.
not. I mean, I rely on them to get a lot of stuff done that I can't do, that it's just too much for me. And so when I have the automation, when I have the people on my team, I don't have to worry so much about things.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then it's part of scaling up, right? It's part of changing that mindset to that of a business owner.
Mhm.
And, I find often two things from, you know, a person with disabilities. They're either the fuck you, you're never gonna tell me how to do it. I'll just hold my beer and watch this. I'm gonna tackle life, or it's their crutch
Yeah.
and they can't do because they have this. And I
Yeah.
think, and I very rarely find the middle of the road person. They're usually one way or the other. And what I would encourage people is to really ask themselves, are they the person using that disability as a superhero hero power, or are they using it as a crutch? And if they're using it as a superhero power, now they can scale and leverage it up and use it as a platform to go bigger and crazier and do some awesome things. But if they are using it as a crutch, then there's always an excuse, right? There's always something that's going to pop up in their lives to where I can't do it because. And as
Yeah.
soon as you say that, you're blaming the world for all of the things that you should take ownership of.
Yeah. You know, I can hear myself saying, I can't do it just now.
Mm.
I will do it. I will get there. But at this point in time, I cannot do it, but I'm going to figure out how to do it.
And that's honest. That's brilliant. I love that phrase. I can't do it just now. Because you're not saying no,
Right.
right? You're not walking away from it. You're literally saying that it's going to get done, just not at this moment. And that's second level thinking. And what I mean by that is now you have to get creative. And if you don't have that team member as part of your asset that can take over that, whatever that thing needs to be done, now
Mhm.
it's what do I need to do to bring somebody on to cover that asset in my business? Right. So you can scale and grow. I mean, that's the reason I have 7 people on my team because there's so many moving parts with all the
Mhm.
craziness we have going on at the business. But a lot of those things popped up because I'm like, hey, let's try this. Well, crap, we got nobody on the team that can do that. Well,
Yeah.
crap, let's find somebody to get on the team to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really it's an entirely it opens up an entirely new arena for you when when you allow your mind to open up and say things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think most people know what they need to do, but unfortunately, it feels like work.
And
And,
we're right back to the work.
and uh, very few people find freedom in their life. Very few people find where they want to go to because, I mean, I go back to, and I don't know why this one pops in my head, but I watched a video on Madonna one time. And this was years after Madonna had made her fame and everything else. And it was a biography walking through her story. Madonna, there was this one particular scene where Madonna, as she was just coming up, had a roommate, and it was a gal that they lived together for quite a couple of years, I think, as Madonna was just starting the touring and trying to figure out how to be success. Well, their paths did this, right? I mean, Madonna went off to massive fame. This gal never changed. I mean, her friend, or her roommate, was this same person she was, 20 years ago. And as part of this biography, they brought this gal up to one of Madonna's conferences and told Madonna this gal was going to be there. And you could almost watch the expression on Madonna's face, like, you know, because once you've evolved as a business owner, right, you're going to find yourself constantly surrounded with other badasses and other people who are really going for it and growing and scaling. But it's a lot of freaking work to get there. I mean, nobody can say Madonna didn't bust her ass for many years to find that awesome success.
Yeah.
And that gal that was a roommate, they were interviewing prior to them two sitting down. And you could just hear this gal talk about how much Madonna's impacted her life and all of these things. But the gal was still a waitress. She was still, living that life that her and Madonna, did years prior. And when they met, the friend was so excited, and Madonna was gracious, but you could also feel that Madonna did not want to be in that moment
Yeah.
because it was almost like stepping backwards in her life. And guys, I'm not saying you don't go back and help the people. I think that's part of the greatness, but you can't drag them along. All you can do is carve the path for others to follow. And as you find success in your life, you're going to find that people want to step up and be a part of that. And you're going to evolve, but not everybody's going to come with you. And I think as a business owner, the more we embrace that we're going for it, you're going to start seeing how much people don't try in their lives. They're going to pay a lot of lip service. They're going to, fabricate a lot of things to try and convince people how awesome and great they are when they're not actually putting in the work. That's why we have so many Instagram millionaires, and we have all these gurus now that can be quote unquote influencers that are trying to impress people with everything they have. It's because they're trying to cheat the system to convince people they're more successful than they actually are. And the truth of the
Yeah.
matter is, the only way to get where you really, really want to go is to put in the work and
Absolutely.
get after it. You know,
Yeah. You're so right. And we are actually getting down to the last of our time together, but I didn't want to leave without you telling us a little bit about the exciting thing that's coming up next year for you.
So my team thinks I'm crazy, and there's a lot of truth in that. So with the business, we don't do anything unless our fans and champions say, "Hey, we want this." So the success champions that follow me out, long story short, wanted me to put together a conference of some sort to bring everybody together. So, in April 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of 2020, we are doing the Badass Business Summit in Fort Worth, Texas. I can tell you, this thing scares the crap out of me. And the reason it scares me so much is this is the biggest financial investment I've made in anything since running my business. It's collaborating so many people, all the different speakers. People are coming in from all over the world to attend this thing. And I've spoken on stages in front of thousands, but this is the first massive event that's on me and my brand. It scares the crap out of me, if I'm completely honest.
Yeah,
But
I
I'm
love it.
doing, thank you. I'm doing it because I want people to see this is how you scale and grow a business. Is an employee mindset avoids risk, because risk in business gets you fired. A business owner embraces the risk and asks for more. So, if you go to badassbusinesssummit.com, you'll find out more information about that. And for your listeners, if they'll send a text message to 817-318-6030, they send, remind me the name of your group.
Soar higher.
Soar Higher. So if they'll text Soar Higher to 817-318-6030, we'll send them a PDF that helps them figure out and get work-life balance.
That's great. I was just talking to my husband yesterday and saying, "Oh, I want to go to that conference so badly." So I will be checking it out. Believe me, it sounds
Awesome.
wonderful. So, well, Donnie, this has just been absolutely a fantastic conversation. I've so enjoyed talking to you again. Every time we meet, I learn lots and lots of new things.
No, thank you.
So thank you so much.
Uh,
And you have a wonderful rest of your day.
you too, hon. Really appreciate it.
Okay, we will talk again soon.